Hello to all of our listeners out there in the land of blockchain and otherwise. My name is Alex Paul Manders, and I'm a director at the Information Services Group. My core responsibility is to lead and manage our ISG Blockchain Now global and services and solutions line. And I'm joined with my two colleagues, Jason Stading and Cole Flashenberg, as we explore the world of blockchain with a number of guest speakers and leaders, specifically from Dole, Bear, MediLedger, Hashed Health, and Sprint. Our guest speakers are going to talk a lot about different applications and use cases as they relate to supply chain and otherwise. And we hope that you will find some value throughout the course of the series. Jason and I are excited today to welcome Kaylei Perry, who is currently broadcasting live from Northern California. And Kaylei, before we jump into the questions, let me turn it over to you to give yourself the opportunity to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do with blockchain and Dole.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so obviously I'm Kaylei, and I am responsible for implementing blockchain at Dole Fresh Vegetables. I'm sure everyone knows Dole as the banana or pineapple company or the peach cups or the yummy juices, but we actually have a very large vegetable division with our packaged salads and celery and cauliflower and broccoli. So my role for the last year and a half or so has been to implement blockchain across the vegetable division. So it's been a journey.
Wonderful. Well, we're certainly excited to have you, Kaylei. Kaylei and I met last year in San Francisco at a blockchain and food and beverage supply chain conference, where it kind of was an aggregation of a bunch of different organizations here. We're looking to learn more about blockchain and how it relates to the food industry. And I started talking with Kaylei and got to learn a little bit about her story and excited to have you as our guest today. Right. So let's get into the conversation here, Kaylei. What is it and how did you become involved with blockchain? It's an interesting technology to become involved with, and tell us a little bit about your journey, how you kind of came into being with it.
I didn't know too much about blockchain and the emerging technologies until 2018 when I was presented with my current role at Dole. And so I had to take on the implementation of blockchain for Dole Fresh Vegetables without knowing what blockchain was. And of course, when you Google blockchain, the first thing you get is Bitcoin, which has almost nothing to do with the traceability part of blockchain that we're using in the food supply chain. So I had to spend a lot of time, just researching blockchain use for traceability and how it would be used for the food supply chain and this industry. So that was really hard. But before this role, I didn't even know what blockchain was. So that was just flat out honest. And now here I am a year and a half later, and I think it's all I do and all I read about and all I study every single day. And it's really cool because there's so much you can do with blockchain. It's not just one technology. It's used for so many different purposes.
Yeah, you got thrown right in there and you kind of figured your way out through it. What is it that keeps you interested in it? It's you got a couple years in and you got a lot of war stories there, and just curious what keeps you going.
It's probably the fact that although blockchain technology has been around for years and it's been successfully used in other industries, that I don't think it's reached its full potential, or we haven't got the end game of blockchain in the food supply industry yet. It's not at the full potential. So the fact that every day we're learning something new, and it's not just me, it's all these other technology companies that are trying to come up with the best solution for the food industry. It's been successful with pharmaceuticals and, in banking. And I think it's done a really good job. It's just that every day there's a new challenge in this industry. And so that's what keeps me going. The challenge, always learning something new. It's exciting. It's fun. And, it's every day I walk into the office and it's something new. And so that has to keep you excited,
Yeah, no, I know. It's, every day is something different, right? I mean, you hear about a new use case or a new idea, new innovation, a new industry comes into the fold. So it is very exciting. And we certainly look to you in the food industry as a pioneer with the stuff that you're working on. And, one of the things I think would be really helpful for our listeners is to understand how blockchain of itself fits into the way Dole does business. So your supply chain and the way that you do business, how is blockchain going to play a pivotal role in that? I mean, you've got, like I say, a couple of years into it, and just curious what and how the listener should be aware of.
Well, to Dole's, our business, because we're working with our customers directly, when it comes to like transparency of traceability. So also when it becomes like a customer requirement to participate, it's a partnership, right, in a supply chain. And so I think the end goal of the industry is to have everybody on a blockchain or a blockchain-like solution, some sort of transparency, traceability technology that allows end-to-end traceability where you can access data like quickly and you can find where products came from and where it went in the event of an outbreak. You want to be able to find the source of contamination quickly. You want to know where you got your product from, what store shelves did my product end up on. So there's key factors I think Dole as a grower, shipper, processor, utilize blockchain for, which is we want to know where our product is ending up at. But we also have a bunch of like products out there growing, and we want to make sure that we can provide information to our customers, to regulators, when it comes to being able to identify a source and where we get our products. So of course, for Dole, it's for ourselves internally. It started as a food safety initiative, and now it has just become across the organization. It's for sales. It's for operations. When you improve your traceability, you're improving your data quality. You're looking at everything as a whole. You're looking at your processes, and you're just trying to improve everything so that data is accurate because, garbage in is garbage out. And so you want to make sure everything we're doing and putting into the blockchain, using it for traceability is good, accurate data. And what we're providing to regulators and customers is valid. And, we're both getting the same benefits out of it. I think that's where the industry is, where it is right now with blockchain and how it's fitting. But with all the data we're all sending to one source, to blockchain, I think we want to do more with it beyond traceability because, there's talk of smart contracts and using it for freshness. And there's so much to do with it. All the data's there. It's just how are we going to start utilizing it more and more, I think.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And one of the things that clearly any of our listeners would do or has done in their life at some point is eat food. And so I think that we often lose sight of the fact that, hey, we're talking about technology, but we all eat food. And just curious what you believe the consumer should be aware of when it comes to your day-to-day. I feel like you're doing a lot of things. The food industry is doing a lot of things to keep Jason stating or myself safe with the food products we eat. What is the one or two things that you want or feel comfortable with sharing that you think that the average consumer of food products should be aware of as it relates to blockchain and what you do every day?
Everyone's safe, like nonstop. We're constantly working on making sure product is safe. Nothing is contaminated. We're testing all day long. There's constant critical control points, I guess, along the way of shipment and harvesting and processing. I mean, no one is trying to get anyone sick ever, so food safety and quality, because we can identify a trace quickly, we can also make sure that you weren't involved. If there was an identified source, you can quickly say that, I don't have any products from this. And you want consumers to know that, Dole has cleared their name. They don't have any products from this. I can still eat this Dole celery hearts or what have you. And that's for not just Dole, right? It's for everybody. And so you want to make sure that the consumer is confident in the products that we are providing on the shelf. And I think one day, not today or tomorrow, but down the road a long ways, because I don't want to be quoted on, the phrase tomorrow, that it is not just going to be transparent to the customer level, but hopefully transparency data to the consumer level, where a consumer can scan a product and you can see maybe other food safety checks that were happened to that product along the way. So you're like, oh, this was done on it. Because, as a consumer, when you don't know the process of your food from the very beginning, like you don't know what you're looking for. And, so I think it'd be cool to a consumer to know that their food is safe and like what they're eating is good. No one's going to get sick. And, that's the end goal. I think there's other industries out there that maybe currently can do it. I think there's like maybe coffee beans. I think someone has an app where a consumer can scan and maybe see where coffee beans came from. But I think the produce industry is a little more convoluted, and it's, we're all growing and we're all shipping to the same places, and it's kind of all over the place. So, and the shelf life is quick, it doesn't last a year, it lasts a week or two. So it's a little bit harder to get to that level. But I think that's the end goal. We want the consumer to know that they are eating safe, like wholesome food and keeping their family safe.
I love it. That's a great perspective. I'm glad to know you're trying to keep us safe.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah, no problem.
So I have a kind of a two-part question here. The first is we'd love to hear about some of in your experience, some of the quick wins that you guys have had in deploying blockchain in your experience so far, and then we'd love to understand how Dole measures success with those projects. So
the word quick is funny because nothing is quick, but there's been a lot of little victories along the way. And I think one thing, as I mentioned, is looking at your processes as a whole while implementing blockchain. You had to take a step back and look at, if we're going to be sending data on where this product has came and where it's gone, you need to make sure that every system or process involved in tracking that is standardized, is good enough. Is the process need to be refined? Are we doing our jobs right? What is we did a lot of mapping to understand the actual flow of product, even though like we all think we know it. Like, do we really understand down to the nitty gritty? Like, you have to get in the weeds. And so with multiple facilities across the United States, and we're all producing the same bag salad, we all have the same SKUs or whatever it may be. They're all designed a little differently. They're all, there's different people working at each facility. And so one thing that I think was a small victory in hindsight is that we were able to standardize a lot of those processes where we thought we were all doing the same thing, but, we were all doing a little bit of different because people come and people leave, and it's really important that we standardize those little processes on the floor or out in the field or whatever it may be that, yeah, you're still doing it correctly. Like, you're still getting the job done, but, they're trying to get it done quick. And so it's important that we are constantly auditing our processes, and making sure that we're, like I said, good data. So we just wanted to make sure what the procedure was, we're following it, and it's accurate, it's good, because if we're going to be sending this and all of our data is transparent, we want to make sure that what our customers are seeing, that it's good, accurate data. And to measure that success, I myself go out on the production floor in the freezing 34 degrees and just sacrifice my time to go make sure that we're still doing those processes correctly and that the people know what they're doing and why it's important. Because I think that's a big factor, is that everybody knows what they're doing and why that their job is so important, especially when it comes to traceability. So one thing, I guess, and then another would be probably was more of a medium-sized victory, would be implementing the standard PTI label across our division. So PTI is the Produce Traceability Initiative, and there is a label with data on it from a GS1. So it's an organization with standards, and we had like 40 different label formats, and they all look different, and they all go to different customers, and now we have one, and that was really important because we're going to start using these labels. So that's why I did that. Step back there for a second, is we scan the barcodes on the labels, and that's the data that is going to the blockchain and into our systems. And the customer does the same thing. And all throughout shipment, that is the label that's being scanned. So you want to make sure they're right, they're accurate. We're not accidentally putting the wrong label on a box, because when they're out there in the field, 30,000 cases a day, you want to make sure that everything is correct. And it's hard to manage that all the time. So that was one label, and that one's a little bit harder to constantly, I think, measure the success, but beyond doing just like cost analysis on, label shrinkage and how much were we accidentally throwing away if we printed the wrong date or the wrong item, or if we put the wrong label on the wrong box and we had to take it off. And so that was a huge success for us. And, now the whole industry is working to standardize to one label, which is amazing. That would be a huge victory for the industry. And so, that was probably a big one.
That sounds like Dole is really paving the way there, and you're leading the efforts on that. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're trying. It's definitely an industry. Blockchain is an industry. You can't just Dole can't work on it and grower B can't work on it by themselves. I think we've all really come together for this project. I helped form, kind of like a council with all of the players in the industry to make sure that we'd speak once a week to make sure we were all on the same page and all coming up with solutions together. And that was really important when it came to implementing blockchain across the supply chain from a grower shipper perspective.
So because you've got such a background with working with many different parties and this whole ecosystem of getting a blockchain solution in place for a number of different reasons, consumer safety being one of them, what are some of the challenges that you faced? I mean, you have mentioned a couple of them. I'm just curious. Give us an example, or the listener example of one or two challenges you faced in order or along the way of achieving a quick win, and then how did you overcome the challenge? Because a lot of people out there are going to be able to relate to some of the challenges that you've highlighted, and not all of them actually were able to persevere and get through the challenge. So any perspective you have on that topic would be fantastic.
Oof. One or two challenges. So I think the biggest, yeah. I think it's just really important to keep in mind that people don't like change, and we're in an era of change. So this industry, I think, is a little archaic. We have farmers out there that are like 6th generation farmers, and the way they do things is the way their grandfather did them, and so on. And so me giving people an iPad and saying this is what we're going to do moving forward, it's a foreign language. And so that's what I had to do. That was a huge challenge when it came to rolling out the PTI label on every case and making sure it was the right item and the right lot and so forth. Is I had to give, a bunch of people who, my Spanish is not that great. I am working on it. So there's a communication barrier with people that are harvesting out in the field, and making sure that I can roll out a huge project and give everyone this now mobile device where there's no service, and how to use it out in the field, and to print our labels and to put in our lots and the items. And then, when you get back to the office and you're on a network, which is what's a network, and make sure you're syncing data. And, that was a really huge challenge. But if you get out there and you completely immerse yourself in the process and you learn what those people are doing every single day, and you let them explain to you why they're doing it, and, you really understand their challenges and their struggles and what they face. And then you kind of ask, that really helped me a lot with anything I went through in the last year and a half, was learning it from the actual user's perspective and just asking, is there something that you think that would make this easier? And they can tell you, because they've been doing that for 5-10 years, and they have no problem sharing with you on what would make their job easier. And so when you have the end goal and the focus in mind, and it's not really important how you get there, it's really important on the solution. And so you want to gear that solution. Well, how I found it successful is gearing that solution towards the user. Some things may not have made complete sense to me, but they understand it as long as the user gets it and the process is being followed and management is on board and management supports it, because, they're the ones, that are supporting their teams every day. You can't always be the business owner of everything that you're helping with, all the solutions you're providing. I'm not the business owner of a lot of these processes. I'm just helping provide solutions. And so it's just important that make sure that you have everyone on board and everyone understanding. And there's actually a gentleman I work with, and every time I go into a new meeting to start with the process mapping, because he knows like, all right, to start of another, I try not to use the word challenge, but we'll say challenge. And he's like, all right, do you have your Kevlar vest on? And I'm like, I'm ready, and you just got to go in and people don't like change, and you have to understand like why, and then, I don't know, help explain the importance and the reason for why the change is necessary, I think. So that wasn't any like a lot of specific examples on some challenges I've been through, but that was definitely how I got through all the challenges that I've, all the adventures, we'll say, I've been on in the last year and a half.
Don't be afraid to put on that Kevlar vest and take a few shots.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't mean to, but it happens. You're like, oh, but you grow.
Yep. Okay, so one of the things that we're curious to hear about is how federal regulation is involved in some of the experiences. Are you experiencing any kind of driving, I guess, guidance from federal regulation, or are they not much of a factor?
No, it's definitely a factor. With Frank Giannis now at the FDA, and he's the one who drove originally like Walmart's, because Walmart is the one who drove kind of blockchain for our industry. I don't know if like listeners or, knew that, but so Walmart is the company that drove the requirements for their leafy green suppliers to participate in blockchain. So that's kind of where it hit our industry, that was the beginning of this journey. And so now with Frank Giannis, who was the lead of that at Walmart, and he's now at the FDA, he is all about electronic, transparent traceability. And it's moving quick in our industry. And, it's a scary thing because, like I said, change is hard. And I think it's a good push. It's something that we need, especially in the last year and a couple months alone with, some outbreaks and maybe how long it took to identify a source, which is a lot of factors involved. I think it's coming quickly, and I think it's a good thing for our industry. They're pushing blockchain and other like emerging technology. So I always say blockchain-like solutions, I think everyone right now is just researching, investing, improving data, just trying to make sure that we have electronic traceability, but it's the entire supply chain. It's standardizing data. And I think that is the hardest part from like a federal regulatory thing that we're trying to get a good grasp on is standardizing the data, because it's hard when regulators come in to look at data from grower A and we call, a lot a batch, and grower B calls it a lot. And we all say different things and we all have different terms. And so we have to remember when regulators are like looking at data, and sometimes I know people are like, what's taking so long? It's like, well, they're trying to decipher terminology. So I think the first step when it comes to this transparent traceability and all of this like data we have to start having electronic is that we're all standard and we all use the same terminology. And I think that'll really speed up the process when it comes to our traceability efforts. It's no easy mission, but I think it's a good push with the federal regulators. It's something we need to do, and I think everyone knows that. It's just how are we going to do it? Is the $1 million question.
So if you have, with the opportunity to give advice or one or two key takeaways for our listeners, as it relates to how blockchain and emerging technologies are disrupting the food supply chain, what would it be? I mean, we've talked about a couple different things here so far, and it's curious what you would want, Jason's brother to know about how the food supply chain is being disrupted with emerging technologies and blockchain.
I Googled the word disrupting because it has such a negative connotation to it, right? Like disrupt. And I got a definition was drastically alter, right? So like I said, I think my only advice is no matter what industry you're in, and if you're in the food industry, you maybe put 3 Kevlar vests on, but just be prepared for pushback. Be prepared for, I don't know, getting your hopes up, thinking you found a solution, and then, just it didn't work. And then trying again, don't give up, communicate, make sure keeping everyone in the loop, talk to management, work with the users, like just make sure you're constantly taking it all in, like learn as much as you possibly can, because it's not an easy task. It's not just like a one size fits all like solution. Implementing blockchain, I mean, you have a lot of different steps along the way in the supply chain to think about. And so you have to remember to like learn everything you can before you dive in head first and just start trying to think of solutions and come up with how you can make this better and how we can connect this system with that system. You know, it's a lot. So have that Kevlar vest on, you go in and learn as much as you can and communicate with your entire supply chain, with the industry, because when it comes to traceability, standardization is key. And that involves like more than your business, you know? So I think that's my advice. And I learned it a few months too late, but we got it now, so it's good.
So I have a great segue into the next question, piggybacking on your answer. So sounds like you've learned a lot, a ton. I mean, you went from being thrown into the fire on this stuff to being a true thought leader in the industry. So our question is, what resources did you leverage and that you're currently leveraging to keep up to speed on blockchain, and so that our audience can benefit on resources so that they can be up to speed?
Yeah, good question. Pretty much anything and everything that I possibly could. I mean, when it came to online, it was just reading articles, and, you know, there's a lot of technology companies out there that are publishing things. So staying away from media published article, reading it for my own humor, I guess, sometimes, but really using every article out there and every technology company out there launching their own blockchains, and how are they doing it? What are they doing? Who are they talking to? And then all the organizations and working groups. You know, I'm a part of United Fresh. I'm a part of the Produce Marketing Association. We have a blockchain task force. You know, I'm PSO, which is Produce Supplier Organization, which is a bunch of people within the industry just collaborating and working together with all the same end goal. I mean, within the PSO, we have people from the PMA, Produce Marketing Association, from United Fresh, from all these other industries all together. So we all are constantly communicating like what's going on in every organization that we're all kind of spreading ourselves thin in. So I've used everything that I can possibly think of on this journey, you know, PTI, so the Produce Traceability Initiation. Yeah, there's a working group for standardizing the PTI label. So pretty much any group anyone would allow me to join, I would join, because there's always something to learn, and you have to bring it back to the company, to the business, and what can I do with what I just learned? Like, how can I bring that in and better this? Or how can I just better my own knowledge of my current role? So it's really important, I think, no matter what organization you're a part of, and if you're a part of 1 or 5 or 9, like join more, because people are talking, and everyone within all of these different organizations and working groups, we're all a part of the same ones, right? Because there's so many of them. And so we're all talking the same things, but we're all like on different councils. And so we bring back all this information together and we collaborate. And communication is the biggest part of the whole thing. So use any resource online, your working groups, form councils. That was the one council I formed, was all Walmart suppliers who have to be on blockchain. What are we going to do? You know, like take the initiative. If you have questions, I was constantly calling people every day. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? You know, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, let's get a group. Let's talk every week. So, you know, just whatever you need to do, like just, I don't know, do it. Just get involved.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
And your passion is awesome. And it's great to hear that you continue to form all these groups and do everything that you're doing within the groups that already exist to kind of keep this all pushing forward for everybody. So, Kaylei, we're going to jump over to some more non-technical questions so that the listeners have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. Hopefully they'll be fun questions, and we can chat through them here, Jason and I, with you. And so our first one is, what is a low technology hobby that you have and enjoy doing?
Yeah, so first let me say I'm really excited for non-technical questions. I have no technical background before this role. So I have like a food science background. I've been in quality, since, in college and after college. So getting thrown into a technical role has been like learning a whole new world. So non-technical questions are bringing me back to like my roots here for a second. So this is good. So a low technology hobby, low. So this is really sad, but well, not sad. It's cool. I ride endurance horses with my dad. We do like 100-mile rides with an association, and we're out there and we're in the middle of nowhere and we're on these beautiful trails, and we do this, like on a monthly basis, kind of give the horses some break between, but there's, a huge group of us. And so I have a GoPro because, you're trying to explain like these rainforests and these meadows and the bridges and the cliffs and the things you're going over, and you just can't. So I try and record it, and I want to make like cool videos, which I can implement blockchain for a division, but I cannot figure out a GoPro. So like I can barely turn it on. I'll get through my first like 75 miles and I realize the thing was off the entire time. And then like you look at the footage and I'm like, what was I doing? Like I have nothing. Then I don't know how to clip it together. So there's technology so this is low technology, right? So I try and keep no technology out there when you're out there just taking in nature, and then I try and implement technology a little bit and I can't figure it out. So that's one of my hobbies that involves little to no technology, is riding horses with my dad.
All right, that's a very cool answer.
Anyone can send me notes on GoPros. I'd appreciate it. They're complicated.
I can relate to the low technology problem with the GoPro. It took Jason and another colleague I don't know how long, 30 minutes to get my microphone set up this morning. So yeah, I can relate to being able to implement blockchain and not, turn the switch on a microphone or something.
Right, it's the simple things. You just forget like simple basic knowledge.
Exactly.
Plug and play is never plug and play.
Right?
Okay, so next question. So if you could create a technology to do something that you don't like to do, what would it be?
Okay, so I thought about this and I was gonna say washing my hair, but it's not like I don't like to wash my hair. I just want to make that very clear. It's just like really annoying to like wash your hair. So I was like, I said it anyway, so we could have just kept that offline. But the thing I would create for real, and it's not that I don't like doing it, is watering my plants. So there's probably like a cool thing out there, like putting an ice cube on your orchid and let it melt. But like, I want to have a green thumb so bad, and I don't have one. And so like, I'm overwatering, I'm underwatering, things are dying, and I'm like, I'm watering it every week. What the heck's happening? Like, I can't control any of it. So if I can have like a little tool that like has a probe in the soil and it's monitoring the moisture content and the nutrition of the soil, and it knows what kind of plant it is. Is it a succulent? Does it need not that much water? Is it a cactus? Is it a tomato? Is it a fern? And it would like release the right amount of water at the right time. So like I just didn't really have to do much besides put the plant in the pot. I would feel so much better. Like that's what I need. So if that's actually out there, I need the link because I need it. But that's what I would create.
You need to invent like a robot herbologist.
Yes, there you go. You're onto something.
Maybe one of our listeners will be able to send us a link that we could share with you, yeah?
That would be great. Thank you. You'd make my life easier, especially with traveling. I come home and everything's dead. And here I am again, buying a bunch of new plants.
Well, Kaylei, we know that you're clearly busy with all of the endurance horseback riding and the blockchain with Dole and all these things. And so the next question is, what is your career aspiration, or what is a career aspiration that you have that is either technology or non-technology related? What's something that you strive to do in your career?
I just want, I'm trying to think of like a word or a phrase. It's really like make people happy, like just world peace within my office. When someone comes to you with a problem, it's providing a solution. That's like what I strive for. I've really, enjoyed being like a liaison for the company between business operations and like our technical side and learning. And I love process mapping. So like every day when presented with a challenge, it's my goal to provide a solution that works, that they like, that is successful. So that's what I aspire to do, every day, and I like being provided with challenges and problems. And it's nice. It's comforting when people are like, okay, Kaylei, like, I know you have a lot going on, but right, like, this is how we do this. Do you think we can look into it? And it's like, yes, let's map it, and so every time I'm able to provide a solution, it's great. So it keeps me going. So every day, like, whether I'm implementing a new technology, a new system, or just like helping refine a business process, like that is every day what I aspire to in my career, is to continue to like help provide a solution. So
Kaylei, if we were to put a quote next to the release of this podcast and it said, "I love process mapping, Kaylei Perry," that would be an accurate statement, correct?
Oh, that's like beyond accurate. That's me to a T. And I didn't even know I would love process mapping so much, but like, there's so many ways to do it. Like, my notebooks of process mapping are unreal, but I love notes too. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's like I love school so much, because I just love taking notes and learning. Knowledge is power.
Right on. That, and there's like some satisfying feeling that you get when you get to do a process map and then re-engineer the process. There's something uniquely satisfying about that.
Right, when you have a before and after, it's like, yes.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like Jason is also I heart process mapping.
You've seen my drawings and diagrams.
That's right.
See, I think that quote is very fitting then for this episode.
There you go. I also enjoy it.
I love it. I have seen your diagrams. I know you like it too.
Oh, I do. Not gonna lie. All right. So Jason.
So I think this might be our final question. So of all of, based on what you've seen out there so far, it could be in your personal life, could be in the business world. What is your favorite piece of technology, application, or device that you've come across so far?
This is like a lot of pressure, because in the last year and a half, I don't want to give like a stupid answer, so it's like, I've seen a lot of cool things, but like, I don't get to use them all every day. So like, I'm going to approach this from like a day-to-day life sort of thing. And of course, like, it's my phone. I'm on it all the time, but it's Amazon Alexa, like, she's there whenever I need her. If like my fingers have raw chicken on them and I can't touch anything, Alexa is there to help me answer my question. Or if I'm relaxing and it's too lazy to pick up my phone, she's there to answer my question. She's just like there to talk to. She's there to help. Like, she turns my lights on and off. Like, she does everything. So I would have to go with like every day. It's Alexa, man. She's good.
Yeah, no, I share the same passion for Alexa. And I'm happy that I put her on mute on all of the devices that are within earshot of where we're sitting right now. Otherwise, they would all be going off.
That was very smart of you. Yeah, I have one in my room, and then my roommate has one in her room. And so it's like, if I talk to mine, hers starts going off because she can hear it through the wall, I guess. And then it's just like, wait, I'm not talking to you. And then it's just chaos, and it gets a little crazy, but it provides some entertainment for a minute until it's a little frustrating. But
completely. Oh, and I just heard one of mine go off. I have my own addiction with the smart connected device house. So.
I was going to say, I thought you muted those.
I did too. I missed one. I just heard it doing something. All right. Well, Kaylei, before we sign off for this episode, is there anything that you wanted to ask Jason or I?
Wow. I want to ask, like, how much are you guys loving being so deeply invested and involved in blockchain, which I've now learned not only in the food industry, but other industries? Like, how has that been for you guys? Because I know how it's been just in one industry. So how's it going focusing on other industries and blockchain technology as a whole, and not specializing just one supply chain?
So yeah, I can take that. And Jason, you can jump in here too. I mean, for me personally, having been involved with this for a number of years, going back to even building, cryptocurrency miners, blockchain nodes, I've found it highly educational for me. I guess I've I've been accused by some as being an academic, which now I've been invited to be a lecturer at Stanford University on blockchain, so maybe I am officially an academic. But, for me, having the ability to see multiple industries that are working through the same challenges that are not technical is very reassuring that, the technology, in my opinion, will be successful and it will become adopted. It's the non-technical bits that will be the primary detractor from mass adoption in the near term. Oil and gas, organizational change management challenges, governance, not dissimilar to what you described earlier in the food and beverage supply chain, right? Collaborating with business partners, trying to establish standards, standards bodies, as you mentioned, going from 40 some odd labels down to one. So for me, it's really the same set of challenges that are replicated across multiple industries, but I do see where eventually with cross-chain interoperability, the supply chain will essentially be interconnected and consolidate industry. So if we think of a supply chain as being horizontal, that's cutting across all industry, blockchain is the technology that can eventually make that happen, because we're not talking about, fantastically different use cases across different industries. So not sure if that kind of hits on what you're going for there, Kaylei, but let me see what Jason has to say.
Yeah, I think building on what Alex just said, what's really interesting is you see similar problems across the different industries. But what's really fascinating, where I really think you get some unique value, is they're solving the problem sometimes different ways, and some of those ways can be transferred over to those other industries.
Absolutely.
So the way that an oil and gas company may solve a problem with blockchain or a dilemma that it's facing, even though it's a completely different use case from the food and beverage industry, you may be able to, piggyback off of that and model a solution off of the way that they did something. And that's the fascinating part. Kind of circling back, my introductory experience with blockchain stemmed out of my MBA program at TCU. We routinely had people come in from Walmart and IBM to our classes to give us, an educational lectures and material on blockchain. And so from there, I just became fascinated and started to research, and I wanted to get hands-on technical experience. So I went through some courses on my own to get some experience. And ever since then, crossed paths with Alex, and we've kind of been teaming up with Cole as well to kind of take on the blockchain world and see what we can do. And it's the broader picture of how solutions are evolving in one area of an industry and then being transferred over to another industry as a whole. And that's the fascinating thing, and that's where the most value can be found, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess to wrap that question up, Kaylei, it kind of sounds funny, but one of the things that I could see as a potential solution is almost the World Fair of industry as it related to blockchain, right? We've got leaders such as yourself, the Dole organization, leaders in the federal government that are engaged with regulation, right? But why not put the pharmaceutical supply chain leaders with the food and beverage supply chain leaders, with the oil and gas supply chain leaders, with the insurance, the healthcare, financial services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Because what I see and what we see are areas for everybody to learn from each other. But the challenge is a lot of industries are still saying, hey, I've been doing it this way for 50, 60 years. I'm unique. I'm special. I need to recreate the wheel. I need to do it specific for me and my business in this industry. Well, I mean, that's fine. You could do that. But the option is you go talk to somebody in a different industry and maybe learn something new and create a competitive advantage.
And here's the beauty of it. I mean, Kaylei, you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the challenges with standardization. And what Alex was just saying almost leads to problems with standardization where companies or industries want to go off on their own branch and do things on their own. But if we can get everybody to collaborate together, it absolutely, in my opinion, helps standardize and get people on the same page.
Absolutely.
All
yeah,
right,
I know. I definitely, people run at the word blockchain, and like I've definitely learned that it's implementing blockchain within your business is like 80% non-technical and only like 20% technical, so it's, if you are archaic, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So it's nice to hear we're not the only industry out there that is, a little behind on the technology, but we're moving, right? Progress.
Well, you're making great progress.
Thank you.
Well, we hope you found today's podcast episode valuable and insightful. And on behalf of the Information Services Group, Jason Stating and Cole Flashenberg, we'd like to thank you for listening. And we encourage you to listen to the future episodes. And also, with any questions you might have about ISG or ISG Blockchain Now, please visit isg1.com to learn more about our firm and what we do with blockchain. Thank you.